Well, lawmakers say there are more constituent visits when the weather warms up in Washington, D.C. Well, for farmers this year, work on the 2012 Farm Bill, estate tax reform, and over-regulation by federal agencies seems to be the focus. Rick Treptow says those on the Georgia Farm Bureau County President's trip were direct when they spoke to the Georgia delegation of the U.S. House.
It was a quick bus ride after meeting with the Georgia senators, then a steep walk to the House side of Capitol Hill.
And when the Georgians finally got up on Capitol Hill to visit the 3 House buildings, we went to see one of the Farm Bureau Award winners, John Barrow of Georgia.
You know, you see you've got the kilter out of place. We can't balance the budget when we start getting our policies so far from economic base.
You're right.
I don't know how many folks remember, but it was just 10 or 11 years ago when we were in a run of 4 years in a row when the federal government was actually bringing in more money, more revenues on an annual basis than we were spending on everything. But we got to get at the root causes. We can't be taking a whack at agriculture, the parts of our budget that are really a small part of the whole, but actually the most productive part of what the federal government does.
GFB Middle Georgia Vice President Robert Fountain led this group. The congressman received the Friend of Farm Bureau Award from the Georgians on behalf of the American Farm Bureau for excellent agricultural support in 2010.
I applaud him for being a blue dog Democrat, and I'm very conservative in my views, and I think he recognizes that and the views that are supported in a lot of his district.
Representative Phil Gingrey of the 11th District also received a Friend of Farm Bureau Award. With House Appropriations Committee member Jack Kingston, the chair of the Subcommittee on Agriculture, the major concern was the 2012 Farm Bill.
And we need to have everybody unified and to be thinking about where do we fight these battles, where do we not fight these battles. And I'm always concerned that some of the social programs that ride on the back of the Farm Bill, they're given a pass, and yet year after year people come and beat up the farmers for excessive farm subsidies. And so I think we should look at the whole thing, and everybody should be measured by the same yardstick.
Congressman Kingston was also presented a Friend of Farm Bureau Award. Later, we met Sanford Bishop's Deputy Chief of Staff, Michael Green. This group, led by Farm Bureau's first Vice President, Gerald Long, said the overregulation of all federal agencies is wrong. In a short visit, I asked the congressman if he was aware of EPA's proposal to require all dust and dirt generated on a country road or especially a farm to not be allowed to leave.
But EPA has got to stay off our back. We've sent them a pretty strong message that their wings have to be clipped. The Environmental Protection Agency under the Clean Air Act, I think, is overreaching. And I think that the Congress is going to do what it takes to make sure that that kind of ridiculous action is not made into law.
I think it's a great linkage between the farmers and our elected officials. You know, the senators, we're very fortunate in Georgia to have 2 senators that are very receptive to the agricultural industry, realizing its importance to our state and our economy here even on a national level.
A lot of times it's very depressing what you learn. Hopefully you can glean from what you learn and at least be able to function better in it or understand it, those you can't change.
The congressman learned a lot from the farmers. The farmers learned a lot from the congressman. What will happen on these key issues, no one knows. Some of that will have to be taken care of in follow-up contacts from back in Georgia. I'm Rick Treptow in the U.S. Capitol for the Georgia Farm Monitor.